here and just to look over the trip a little bit more. Today, as we look at the pool of Bethesda and Antonio Fortress, and Via della Rosa, Golgotha. God, we just ask that you would just bless us now with your presence. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, those of you that are watching online, welcome. Glad you're with us. We are looking today at day 12. It'll be Monday, June 20th, 2016. And Lord willing, if everything goes well, this is the day. Will be our last tour day of Israel. So this is the last tour day of the 13-day tour. As of right now, interestingly enough, we just picked up 5 more folks. So we are up to 25, not counting the group from Texas, which will be anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8 people. And there's a couple more here that talked to me today that are still considering coming. So we'll be having somewhere between 25 and 35 people the way it looks. So pretty excited, things are looking well. Half of the group of the 25 right now, 12 are looking at the 13-day tour, and 13 are looking at the 17-day tour. So we're about half and half right now. This shirt that my wife and I are struggling all day long with this. So that's what we have. I use it as an illustration today in the message.
Oh, maybe
So.
you can help.
Oh, please do. That'd be awesome. It's the shirt, see, it doesn't line up, that's why.
That is fine.
It was bothering you. Nice. Okay. Okay, good. Now ready to go. So at any rate, today will be the last day for a number of the folks on the tour, about half the tour. And what's really interesting about this day, everything has crescendoed to this day. This becomes the spiritual high point of the tour. There's just an amazing thing when people talk about some of their main moments of the tour memories. This is oftentimes the day where people have that moment. So it's kind of a cool day. We're going to start off, we're going to go to what's called St. Stephen's Gate. And St. Stephen's Gate is an interesting gate. It's over on the east side. It's just north. If you think in your mind when we looked at the gates of the city, it's just north of the eastern gate. So it's called Stephen's Gate. At the time of Jesus, it was called the Sheep Gate. So if we look like, thanks, okay. If we look at Jerusalem and the walls of Jerusalem, we remember on the east side over here, if we're looking at the walls, let's just say the walls. We had the Dung Gate down here, remember? Mm-hmm. And then over here we had the Golden or the Eastern Gate. And this is the one that the Ottoman Turks walled up so the Messiah couldn't come back in. That was one of their ways trying to stop the Messiah from returning. Mm-hmm. Good luck with that. Mm-hmm. This gate is over here. It's just to the north of the Golden Gate. And it was called, like we said, in Jesus' day, it was called the Sheep Gate. Guess who came through that gate? The sheep.
The sheep?
Now it's called either the Lion's Gate, because there's a carving of a lion right over here, or it's called St. Stephen's Gate, because St. Stephen's is right inside the church. So this is, today we come in here. As we come in here, we are going to see an archaeological dig, and lining things up, the Antonio Fortress is over here, the Temple Mount, something like that. It's out of proportion, but you get an idea. So this is the first place we're going to go to of significance. It's the pools of Bethesda, which means mercy, basically. It's mercy pools, pools of mercy. I'm just going to open my Bible up and just read this. Bethesda, yes.
Mercy.
Mercy, yes. I'm just going to read this to you all, John 5. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem by the Sheep Gate. I didn't see you guys come in.
Oh, we've been here the whole
Oh,
time.
okay, great. Let's see it. So, by the Sheep Gate, as they come in, we have the a pool, which is called in Hebrew Bethesda. So this is that pool of Bethesda right here, having 5 porches. Now it was very interesting because for the longest time they couldn't find this. And the liberals, of course, had a field day when they cannot find archaeologically what the Bible says is supposed to be there. So they said, well, it says right here, right by this gate, the pools of Bethesda, with 5 porches, hello, that's not here. And it wasn't until our lifetime, that they discovered this. So when we go there, it's a fairly new excavation right here in Jerusalem. This is the Muslim quarter. This is not Muslim quarter. But when we go here, it's going to be, you'll see looking down on it because it's going to be at the level of Jerusalem in Jesus' day. They built on top of it, but they excavated it down, they found it. And what they found is, if we're looking down at this, now let's just take this and move it over to here. There were 2 pools like this. 2 pools. I gotta make them green so it looks more like water. I like that better. So they had the 2 pools like this. So they found these 2 pools, and interestingly enough, they found that there was a porch here. So if I'm looking down, it's a covered porch here, a covered porch here, a covered porch here, 4 of them, and a covered porch here. They had the 5 porches, just as they said. It was like the pools of Bethesda. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5 pools. So are the 5 porches. So it was an interesting find when they found it. But listen to what it says about it. This is kind of interesting. In these 5 porches lay a great multitude of sick people, blind, lame, paralyzed, waiting for the moving of the water. So was it possible that there was some kind of a hot springs that would come bubbling up? We don't know what it is. We don't know. For an angel went down at a certain time into the pool and stirred up the water. Then whoever stepped in first, after the stirring of the water, was made well of whatever disease he had. So it's an interesting thing going on here. So you'd have all these sick folk around this place. Now a certain man was there who had an infirmity for 38 years. And when Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he already had been in that condition for a long time, he said, "Do you want to be made well?" And the sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. But while I am coming, another steps down before me." Remember, the first one that gets it, well, he's lame. 38 years. Not getting in there. Jesus said to him, "Rise, take up your bed, and walk." He did not say, "Rise, go into the pool," which I just find interesting. And immediately the man was made well. He took up his bed and he walked. So that day that this happened was the Sabbath. That's going to be a problem, right? The Jews, therefore, because of the Sabbath, said to him who was cured, "It's the Sabbath. It's not lawful for you to carry your bed." I mean, here's a guy for 38 years. Imagine. And now they're saying, it's crazy when religion trumps need, isn't it? That's crazy. And he said, "He who made me well said to me, 'Take up your bed and walk.' And they said, 'Oh, who is this man who said you take up your bed and walk?' But the one who was healed did not know who it was, for Jesus had withdrawn, a multitude being in that place. Afterward, Jesus found him in the temple. So he walks, comes into the temple area. So now he's over here. And afterward, Jesus found him in the temple, and he said to him, 'See, you have been made well. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you.' The man departed and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had made him well. For this reason, the Jews persecuted Jesus and sought to kill him, because he had done these things on the Sabbath." So that's this pool of Bethesda. So when we go there, it's going to be ruins, but this is what it looked like looking down. We're going to be looking down at it. And of course, this portico, you're just going to see the support pillars. You're going to see some of the arches. You're going to see a little bit of it. The significant thing is this is where Jesus healed the man with the infirmity for 38 years. So it's right here. We come in the sheep gate, we start here. We go to the pool of Bethesda. From the pool of Bethesda, we head over to St. Anne's Church. This has absolutely nothing to do with anything. It's one of my favorite places in all of Jerusalem. It's just crazy. And we just sing in there. And we usually have Connie sing. I just like, "Connie, just go for it." And people who have a loud voice. It's pretty good. But what it is, it's just an old church. The acoustics in it are crazy. It's made out of white stone. It's big. And as you sing, it echoes throughout this little church building. So we just sing, and it's kind of fun because usually, well, every trip I've gone on so far, we've had major singers on the trip. So I pick out the major singer and say, go for it. And they just, and it's like, and it's, if you ever seen that when you rub metal and there's that humming sound, it's like that. It sounds like a whole choir singing. It is so cool. It is so cool. So we do that, and then the tourists are there, and they come in, what's going on in here? And it's, no, it's just us. We're just singing. But it's pretty cool. So we just go there, nothing of significance there, just a church. But it's cool acoustics, so it's fun just to go in there and sing away. From there we go to a very interesting place, the Antonio Fortress. Now, the Antonio Fortress, this is one of those goosebump places, or it can be. It's a military barracks. It was built by Herod about 20 BC. So this was built prior to the birth of Jesus, probably about 15 years or so. So somewhere in there. So there it is, yeah, 19, whatever, somewhere in there. But anyway, he builds it, and he names it Antonio Fortress after his buddy, Herod's buddy. He had a friend who Herod was always trying to play footsie with Roman authority.
Is Antonio, not Antonia?
Antonia. Did I say Antonio? Antonia. So he names this after Mark Antony. That was his buddy. So Herod liked to hang out with him. He builds this and he names it after Mark Antony. So it's called the Antonia Fortress right here. Now this fortress is interesting because it's built up higher over the Temple Mount. Remember the temple itself? Depending on who you follow Rittmeyer, or if you follow whoever you follow. Possibly the temple was here, lined up with the Golden Gate, or else it was here, over the Dome of the Rock. Some say it was over on this side, Relaska Mas. So you can go number 1, number 2, number 3. You don't know. Most people now, evangelicals, tend to look over here, Asher Kaufman's position here, because of the Golden Gate lineup. But either way, the Antonio Fortress was built here for the authorities to keep their eye on what was going on in the Temple Mount during the feasts when 1 million people plus would be flooded into this area. So they could keep the peace on here. It was here, in this area, because they had access to come down from here. This is when Paul, remember in the book of Acts, after the third missionary journey, he comes there and they start accusing, he brought Gentiles up, he did, but they accuse him of that. And they come to basically to kill Paul. And the crowd rushes him, and the centurions run down, grab him. The Roman soldiers grab him, remember, and bring him up here, and Paul stops here and addresses the people. So he's standing up high, looking down over the temple complex, presenting the gospel to the Jews out of Acts. That's where it is right here. This is the Antonio Fortress. So we're going to go into the ruins of the Antonio Fortress. What is really interesting is the Praetorium is there, as well as just a number of different areas. But the Praetorium to me is very interesting, and then you go in deeper. That's where Jesus met with Pilate, and also where he was then taken and beaten by the Roman guards and everything. And when we go in underneath the Antonio Fortress, you will see the stones that you're walking on, and you realize those stones were original stones. So Jesus was taken down on those stones, and that's where the Roman soldiers would play different games with their convicted victims before they were taken out to crucify. And as you look on you will see it when you get there, but you'll be looking down at a big stone. And if I'm standing on that, if I laid down on that stone, I would probably cover it about like that. So it's a big stone. And on that stone, you will see markings etched from swords onto the stone. You will see little games that they played. And this was games they found in Roman documents, games of torture before they led someone out to be killed. I'm not saying that that's what they did with Jesus. I'm not saying that's the game they played and that's the stone. I'm just saying it took place down in there. We know Jesus went down there. And when you're standing there and you realize that and you look at that, you go, my goodness, this is where it happened, right here. It's just a different thing that I can't even, I don't know, it's just what it is. But it's an interesting thing, the Antonio Fortress. The significance, Paul spoke here more significance, Jesus was brought here, Roman soldiers did their stuff with him there. From here, eventually, as we read the gospel context, and we can do that later, eventually they take Jesus on what is known as the Via Dolorosa, or the way of the cross. Now, it's interesting because there are two different sites. The first site was over here, and they built a church, and that happens all the time in Israel. When you see a holy site, they build a church on it. So this is the first site, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Do you guys see that, Sandy Berger? Probably not.
No, because I went on that little
Yeah,
tour.
so you did see it a little bit? Okay. Most people don't see that. We don't usually go there. This was the traditional route, and the Via Dolorosa went not to Mark Anthony. But the Via Dolorosa, for a long time, was just a path that you took to this site. That was the traditional site. There was really no archaeological evidence for it. It was just a traditional site of where it would be. Then, a guy by the name of Gordon did some research. And as he was researching, he came across this hill that looked like a skull. And the Damascus Gate is right here. And this became the second Via Dolorosa. So there are two Via Dolorosas if you're Roman Catholic or evangelical. There's two of them. The reason that most evangelicals adhere to this is because of the skull. When you go there, we'll go there, you will see it. And it's like, yeah, hello. You see the skulls. Did you see the skull? Yeah, it's pretty obvious. It's a pretty good size hill, probably 3 stories high. It's very obvious. This is just caves, and a little dark and recessed area like a skull. And the theory is that the Romans, there was a road out here, an ancient road, and the Romans crucified people, they know that for a fact, by the road. Not up here, but on the road. And they crucified thousands of people during the first century. Thousands of people being crucified, typically on the road. So as you're walking on the road, can you imagine walking on the road? If you guys walking the road and I'm being crucified here, I'm here, and you're walking right there. Hence you can see the charges. You see what's going on. And that was very typical. It was a way of reminding you, if you rebel against Rome, this is what happens to you, pay your taxes, basically. Don't mess up. So they believe this is where it was, with the skull formation behind the crosses. So it's the place of the skull, it's the place where you're going to go die, Golgotha. So it's interesting because obviously the song, we all know it, on a hill far away. Stood an old rugged cross. It's a song. But it's amazing how songs form our theology and understanding of the scripture. But you could say, in front of a hill far away, stood an old rugged cross. You could say that and be accurate. But there's probably not. Over here, there's no hill at all. So, I mean, the song was written obviously about this, but just kind of, that's what it is. When we go here today, Damascus Gate, this is teeming with people, markets, places everywhere. When we come out of the gate, over here is the bus station. So there's a bus station, a bunch of old buses. And not fancy buses, old buses. And it's just a busy street with a bunch of yelling and screaming and talking, horns honking. And it's like, really? That's what we got there. That's what we have there. So that's what it is. I want you to get the positioning of everything. Is that making sense to you a little bit? We're following that? Okay. So as we look at this, we go from the Antonio Fortress site. We walk to the Via Dolorosa. It's good to walk it. You just get a feel for the distance is the main thing. You get the distance. It's not going to look at all, obviously, the way it did back then. But you get the distance. You'll see Golgotha, and then there's going to be a bus out here. It'll take us to a place that is called the Garden Tomb. We talked a little bit about this last week. It's right about there, looking down on this. So now we're going to just take this, and we're going to enlarge it. looking down at it. When you come in, there's a bookstore right here. I don't like to tell people what to buy, what not to buy. Come on in, David. Good idea. But I like to tell people what to buy, what not to buy, where to buy. This is towards the end of the tour. There are some pretty good books in here, some pretty interesting things, some pretty interesting video in here. So if you save up a little bit of money, 30, 40 bucks, you won't regret it. There's some pretty good things here. This tomb is owned by a British evangelical society, this whole area here. So it's just a separate place, monitored, watched over by born-again evangelical Christians. Kind of interesting. It's up there now. As we look down at it, we're going to come in, and it's really pretty. There's little paths that go this way and paths that go this way. And it's like walking through an arboretum or something. It's just really nice. Just paths like this. And it's green, green, green. Palm trees, and just green, everywhere green. You got little places here to sit, and you got a little place here. Green, 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 and little benches in here. We usually have a communion service over here. What's interesting is you look right here, there's Calvary. So it's like, man, we're having a communion service right here, remembering that Jesus died for our sins, as I look at where Jesus died for my sins. And I don't really know how you can get that into words. I don't know how you get that into words. It's just like, okay, this is extremely crazy. Those of you out there, David and Lisa just came in. They signed up within the last month. Welcome, guys.
Right.
But you guys weren't here. We picked up 5 more people on Thursday night.
Wow.
And I got on the phone, and there's anywhere from 4 to 8 people coming from Dallas. So the numbers are growing a little bit. So it's pretty cool. You got in time. It was good. But so we're looking at the Garden Tomb Park here. It's located up here. You're looking at Calvary. We have our communion service here. But what's very interesting is over here. There's a little doorway. And there's a little niche. If we're going to look at it now, we're going to stand here and look at this. So if we stand here and look at it head on, you'll see it looks like a stone block combination wall kind of in the side of the hill. And you can tell it's been there for a minute. But there's a little doorway right here. If I'm standing next to the doorway, I'm about like this. So I have to duck to get in it. Okay? So that's kind of the perspective. But right here, there's a ramp. And a little niche in there. There's no stone there. But the ramp is there. Now, we're not saying this is the tomb that Jesus' body was put in with the thought of decomposing. We're not saying that. We're just saying there's an empty tomb here, and that there is a park around this empty tomb. We are saying that because we can see that. But what's interesting when we go in is you get a chance to see what the decomposition chambers were like, what the tombs were like in Jesus' day. Now, there are those who insist, yeah, this is definitely the tomb of Jesus. Be careful with that. It could be. It certainly could be. But we're not saying it is. But we are saying we're going to commemorate his resurrection at this place. We are definitely going to remember his crucifixion at this place. And we get a chance to go in and look at this empty tomb. Now that's all we're going to say about that. So as we look at this, now I want to go in and look at it from the top again. Okay, this is what it looks like on the front. But now if we go inside here, so let's just take that same thing, and we're going to look at it from the top. If we could cut off that mountain that's right here and just look at it, the door would be right here, right? Okay. Now as we would come in, there is a little wall here. This is way too big. There's a wall, kind of, like there, and a little bit wall here. Over here, there's a raised rock bed. And over here, there's a raised rock bed. So it's got a double decomposition, isn't there? There's 2 now, if I remember right. I think there's 2. So it's like a double decomposition bed looking down at it. So as you came in, you'd be able to see if someone was on here, they'd have the head wrappings, their body would be wrapped. If there was, well, there'd be just one in the case of Jesus. So when Peter and John came in and they looked in, they would see that he was gone, that said they saw the head wrapping folded neatly over by itself. Peter saw that, John saw that, and they believed. And that's significant. Because if it would have been me there and I just wasn't dead but just got up, I would have unwrapped my head. But this was still wrapped, it says, and folded. So it talks of a resurrection where it came right through that. And it was separate, still folded there. So in the Greek, it's a very interesting little minute detail that speaks to the resurrection. That's why when Peter and John saw it, they believed it. So they looked at it, whoa. So we'll see a bed like that. Then over in here, if this tomb would be used, this is where they would put the ossuaries, the boxes of the bones. So as we talked about in the past, a tomb was a place for decomposition to take place in Jewish burial. So someone dies, they take and they start wrapping them, separate the body, leaving the shoulders and the neck exposed, and then they'd wrap the head, a little band around the head. And they would put all these different ointments and herbs inside the wrappings to help with the aroma of decomposition. So the ladies are coming back to anoint his body, that's what they were doing. They were coming back, they were going to finish this up because you couldn't do it on the Sabbath and all. So that's what happens in a burial, in a decomposition. So once they get him in that position, then they close the tomb up and they leave him in there for quite some time, maybe a year or 2 years, and let the body decompose. Then you remove, you go back in, and there's nothing but bones there now. Then they take the bones and they put the bones in a box. The size of the box depends on the length of your femur, your longest bone. And in a special way, you place all, was it 206 bones, in the box. So then you have a box of bones. Then you take the box of bones and you stick that over here in the tomb, and there I am. When I die, there I am. That's my ossuary. When Connie would die, then there's her box of bones right there. We had a family thing. My parents could be in there. Our kids could be in there. Our grandkids could be in there. We could start stacking these boxes. We'd have a bunch of Thetans in there in the tomb. And then over here is the decomposition area. That's how the tombs were set up. That's why it's significant when it said Joseph Arimathea got his body and put it in a tomb he had just purchased, a tomb that had never been used. From a Western way of thinking, well, of course the tomb's never been used. That's why I put him in a grave that's never been used. Well done. But this is a decomposition tomb. So he's placed in a tomb where no one's ever been decomposed in before. So that is significant when we come to this garden and this tomb. Now, could that be the tomb? Of course it could be the tomb. Am I going to tell you it's a tomb? I'm not going to tell you that. Do I think it's a tomb? What do you care? It's, it's what I think makes no difference, whatever. It doesn't change anything. But what is interesting about it is you get to see this ramp. You get to see what it looks like. It's really close to Golgotha or Calvary. We have our communion service right here looking at Calvary. It's like, it's a little bit emotional. Wow. It's a little bit crazy. It's pretty good. So that's that. Now, yeah, Brigitte.
Is it common for them to seal tombs in general with the lock with it?
They seal them for, yes.
Okay.
It was common to seal them, but to close them, but not to seal them. They put a Roman seal on this one because of the concern that the disciples are going to come, because he says he's going to resurrect. They're going to come steal the body, say he resurrected, and you put the Roman seal on there. But it was common for them to have this stone that they just would roll down, and they had a little stopgap over here somewhere. So the stone would just roll down, and it would cover that door.
Okay.
That was common. Now it's interesting, we'll see it in Jerusalem more likely than, I don't know if we saw it last time or not. I've seen it about half the time. And I don't even know where it is. It was just, all of a sudden there it is. It's in a very it's like in the middle of the city. You're just in Jerusalem or walking somewhere. And all of a sudden the tour guide said, oh, and by the way, and cameras come out and snap. We don't always see it, but it's in a small little area. And what we see is we just see a stone with the in place, but it's bricked in. They've just built around that stone, but you see this and the stone right there. Did we see this last time? I don't remember if we did or not.
I don't remember that. I
You remember
remember
it.
when we were driving, we saw one.
Okay.
And I have a good picture of one that was on the side of the road, but I don't, that you could see the ramp.
Okay, this one we'll see sometimes, well, you'll see them, they're around, they have these things all over Jerusalem, so we'll see them. But it's kind of good to see how that works. And once you see it, I can draw it and tell you, and you kind of get it. Once you see it, you go, oh, that makes sense. And it'll be right there. So this is where we close the tour at the Garden Tomb of that communion service. After that, we go in for the bookstore. Yeah,
How big are they?
what's that,
Those
stones?
stones, can you bring one
If
home?
I'm standing here,
Can you bring one?
no.
No.
If I'm standing, it's like this. There I am. It's about 6 feet tall.
Weight like
About this thick. I'd say
1,000 pounds?
800,000 pounds, I'd say.
800,000 pounds?
800 to
Okay,
1,000.
yeah.
Yeah, 800 to 1,000 pounds, I would guess. They're big. They're big stones.
Yeah.
So that's what they are, yeah.
What
And
is-
they're at an angle, see, this is at an angle, and this has got a stop built in here, so you gotta push it up.
Exactly.
It's in this channel.
Yep.
And it doesn't come out this way, so you gotta roll it up, so you're rolling 800 pounds uphill.
How did they seal it? How did they put,
The Roman seal
Yeah.
what I've seen and read about, is they take, think of it like twine or a rope or something, and they would put it like this, and like this, and like this, and they would put wax on it. So it's not like, oh boy, you can't get in there. It's a wax, and if you break that seal, they'll kill you for that. That is sealed with government authority. So when it's sealed, it's not like a hermetically sealed room. It's sealed by Roman authority. Hence they sealed it, put the stamp on there, and then they had the guards out here. And if any of the guards go to sleep, if this guard goes to sleep, all 4 guards are killed immediately. So it's like, don't go to sleep. So you can imagine if it's, us 4 right here, we're gonna stay up all night, and if any of us go to sleep, we all get killed, we're staying awake. I mean, you start nodding off, stand up, go walk, you're not sleeping, I'm sorry, not happening tonight, you can sleep tomorrow. That's just what it is, you're on it. So when they found the tomb empty, then the Jewish authorities went to the guards and say, you say that you fell asleep and they stole the body. They came and stole the body while you were sleeping. First off, if you're sleeping, how do you know they stole the body? And secondly, if you're sleeping, you're dead. But the Jewish authorities had Pilate, remember, they had him. So they said, we'll cover you, you stick to the story, you won't die. We got him, he's in our back pocket. And off it goes. So it's an interesting thing when you start looking into that. But yeah, that's this. So this is kind of an emotional, fun place, if there is such a thing, but it really hits home. So this is the Garden Tomb. Realize this Gordon's the one that came up with this. When he found this, and it's been substantiated by a number of biblical scholars and archaeologists since then. This is the typical religious marking of the tomb and the crucifixion, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Now, as we go through Israel, we're going to see a lot of churches all the time. Everywhere there's a church. And usually the churches, as we've talked about before, usually the churches we don't pay a lot of attention to. You can go to Israel and just go on a church tour. This tour, we're not there to look at churches. We're here to look at the topography, the geography, the culture, and how it is reflected in the Word of God. That's what we're looking to find, not the church buildings. So most of these churches we kind of ignore. When you come back, if you visit folks who have a Roman Catholic background, go on a Roman Catholic tour, they do go from church to church to church to church, and that's fine, that's what they're there to do. But realize when you talk to them, their visiting of churches is very special to them, really special to them. So don't try and trump them and say, oh, we didn't see the churches. We saw the real thing. When people do that, I just say, wasn't it good? Isn't Israel just amazing? And I just let it go. But it's not a matter of trying to, well, our trip was better, we didn't go look at stupid churches. Don't do that. And that's fine, churches are fine. If that's what you want to see, you'll see a lot of them, you will. There's only one church that we tend to think, remember, had some possible significance as far as the actual location. Anybody remember what church that was in the city? The church in Bethlehem, yeah. The church of the Nativity. The church of the Nativity. Remember, it was built by Constantine's mom, Helena. And when Constantine made Christianity the official religion of the empire, she wanted to go to the Holy Land, so she did. So she went to the Holy Land, and she went around and looking and started building churches at a lot of the different sites that people then, 300 years later, said, this is where this happened, this is where this happened. she went to Bethlehem and she says, do you know where Jesus was born? And I'll be, oh, that was where Mary had that baby? Yeah, well, yeah, over here. So she built a church there. And she built churches all over Israel. When the Islam folks came on in, they destroyed all the churches. So the markings were all gone that she had set up because they got rid of all the churches. So the churches that she built are all destroyed, except for one, the church of the Nativity there in Bethlehem. And when we go there, if we go to Bethlehem, and that's our goal, is to go to Bethlehem every time. It just depends on what's going on the west in Bethlehem at the time. But we've always been able to go to Bethlehem. But when we go, you'll see the mosaic that kept the church from being destroyed. And you look at it, you just kind of smile and you go, that is so interesting. That of all the churches, this is the one that made it. But when the church was built, they put a mosaic above the top part of the church. It was a mosaic of the three wise men, which is just interesting. There it was. Well, when the Muslim folk came in destroying all the churches, they came to this church, they looked, they said, hey, that's us. This church got us on there. Check it out. Who are those folks? Well, they're from your area. Yeah, they are. They look like us. Yeah, that's us. Don't destroy the church. So it stayed.
Wow.
So most of the churches that we see were built much later, around 1,000 years out or so. This church it was less than 300 years from the crucifixion of Jesus when it was built. And it was built on small town, this is where it happened, in this cave, and she built a church over it. So I'm not saying that's the cave, but of all the churches, of all the significance in the churches, the Church of the Nativity seems to have the most historical possibility of being on an actual site, which makes no difference. It's just interesting. When you see Bethlehem, you see how small it is. It's not a big town. It's like going to Bernalillo. I mean, it's not big. When we sing the little town of Bethlehem, it's a little town of Bethlehem. It's tiny. It's like Bernalillo before Rio Rancho. You know, it's just a small little town. And people in the town, oh, it was right there. So we will get a chance to see that, Lord willing. As we talked about before, when you go into it, it's very ornate. It's not what you're thinking. But then we'll go to the shepherd's fields outside of Bethlehem, and you'll see a cave, and you'll get a chance to see what people live like. We'll spend one whole time talking about that. We'll talk about the cave dwelling around Bethlehem, as well as the Bedouin lifestyle with those two things. You'll see a lot of Bedouins. So we'll be looking at that down the road. So this is the last day. When this is done, we go back to the hotel, I believe. Let me make certain. Yep, that's what we do. We go back, and the rest of the day is a free day. It's maybe about 6 or 7 hours of a free day. You can go anywhere you want in Jerusalem. Use the time. Use the time wisely. Don't just go, I'm going to sleep for the trip. Don't sleep for the trip, because you've got a long trip ahead of you, and you'll sleep plenty on the plane, so just calm yourself. We go out to the airport around midnight usually. Get on the plane around 2 or 3. You see security in America now after 9/11. Israel security is that times 3 or 4. It's very strong security in Israel. Very strong security. And profile, yeah, they profile. You better know they profile. You will be profiled. I mean, they're unashamed. You guys profiling? Oh yeah, we're profiling you. And they called me aside almost every time. They did it this year. They profiled Walter. That was the one they checked. So they called me over. Do you notice, man? There's like, what, 500 people in line? And they knew, okay, this is our group right here, 25 of us. He says, you're the leader? Yeah. Do you know this one right here? And I said, yeah. How long have you known him? 2 years. Can he be trusted? No. Well, I said, yeah, of course he can be trusted. Of course he can be trusted. He says, well, he just has the look of what we're looking for. And because, you know, he looks Arab. And
Did he have his long hair?
yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah,
They did.
yeah.
They did. But they profiled him right away. So they just pulled him over, and they still pulled him out. Even if I said I knew him, they still pulled him off, talked to him, checked his passport, really checked him, patted him down. They really checked him out. So it's just what they do. So you could get profiled. That's all right. So what? They can profile me all they want. Just make sure nothing gets on that plane with me. I'm all good. So there's going to be strong security in Israel. Strong security. So we get you out there about 3 hours before the flight. Getting through the checkpoints, that takes about an hour, hour and a half. A lot of people. You get on the plane in the middle of the night and you fly home forever. You land wherever we're going, New York, Atlanta, wherever it is. You have a little bit of a layover there, and you come home that same day. So it's a long day home. All that to say, those 5, 6, 7 hours you have, enjoy them. Have fun. Just don't miss the bus to the plane. But you can get home in time for supper. I would encourage you to take a shower that night. Just get freshened up the best you can, and then have fun, and that'll be the tour. Those of you that are going on to Petra, we'll just go back to the room like we normally do. We'll say goodbye to everybody about whatever time it is, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And we'll get up early in the morning and we start heading down south. So that's how it'll be. Make sense, kind of?
How long is the airlines,
Flight?
the flight, yeah?
Long. Really long, it's really long. When we go over, we normally leave in the morning around 6:30. And it depends where we're flying. Sometimes, and this sounds crazy, I think this is what we're doing this time. I saw the initial estimated schedule. We won't have it for another couple of months yet. But if I remember right, we're flying from Albuquerque to Salt Lake City. I am so sorry, we're doing that. I know, that's just what we're doing. And then from there to New York. And it's like,
Wow.
oh man, okay, that's just awesome. So we'll leave here, we'll go to Salt Lake, if that's holds, we'll see. From Salt Lake, we go to New York. The layover in Salt Lake was very small, if I remember right, hour, maybe, not just a quick one. New York, if I remember right, it's like a 6-hour layover in New York, which is good for us to do that because we will have people joining us from different parts of the country. So it gives us a window to find everybody, we all meet, and we hop on an international flight. We have to be boarding about 2 hours before we leave. So then we're on. So once we leave, the flight from New York to Israel isn't that long. It's maybe 9 hours, 8 or 9 hours. But the problem is we left Albuquerque, we've flown a full day before we leave New York. So it's just real long for us. So let's just say we leave at 6 and we fly to Salt Lake City and get there in 2.5 hours, 2 hours, probably 2 hours. We have another hour is 3 hours and then a 4-hour flight there. So now we're at 7 hours and then 5 hours, that's 6:30 at night before we take off. So we got 12 hours plus 9 hours we're looking at. Whatever that is, a lot. 21 hours? So we got 21 hours in planes and
Nice.
this is what we have, yeah. But it's fun, and it is nice, it's
Just
fun.
enjoy it.
It is
You
so
get a
fun.
choice, right?
It's
Well,
so
You can't just walk off the plane.
That's it.
Really,
And
you have
and
no
it's
choice.
fun. It's
Make
fun.
it fun.
It is, it's fun. There's the excitement, there's
Yeah.
so much excitement.
Can I still?
Of course you can. There's so much excitement about where we're going. There is so much fun. We're going to Israel, I mean, hello, and it's
Yeah.
this group. And we've got to know each other over the next 6 months. We're going to know each other really well. And we know each other, we're all in there together. It's a big old group. We're going to Israel. Are you kidding me? This is the blast. And it's nothing but fun, nothing but fun. We get there, when we land in Israel, that first day, since we're doing that, we'll just come back, we got some new folks in here. We typically land late in the afternoon. We schedule it, always schedule it, so we get into Israel Friday afternoon. We land, we get the suitcases. The only time I'm gonna ask the men of the group to help me, the only time is in the Israeli airport. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna have markings on all of our suitcases from the tour company, so we'll know which ones are ours. And I'm gonna ask the guys just to get all the suitcases, put them together as a group. Once you get your suitcase, Connie will be there, and we'll just say, okay, get in line, you got your suitcase, go over here, we'll just get in line. We wanna go through as a group, and there's a reason for a group. I know some of you have traveled a lot, and so, well, let's just go do this. We gotta go as a group here, because we gotta get to the right bus once we go through everything. And we don't want people missing the bus, getting on the wrong bus, whatever, there's a lot of tour buses now. So we're just gonna be together as a group. We go through, they might check us, they might not. If they do, then we'll get checked, probably we will. They'll check us, we go outside, a little waiting area, we go out, we're gonna just wait right there. Wait right here, guys, I'm gonna run out real quick, find our bus, let them know we're here, they'll pull it in. You have your suitcases here, let go of your suitcase right there, by the bus. You'll never carry a suitcase again till you're back to Albuquerque. It's pretty sweet. Would that be a true statement?
That's a true statement.
You're completely taken care of. Your suitcase will just show up in your room. When you leave, you just put it outside your door. It shows up in your room at the next place we go. So they've got it. It's sweet. So you don't worry about any of that. So pack a lot, go ahead, because you're not carrying it, so it's okay. But just, that's what it's gonna be. But when we land then, we get in the bus, and we head out to Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is a huge city right on the Mediterranean Sea. We'll go to our hotel. Our hotel will be okay. It's not gonna be the fanciest hotel in the world, but it won't be a dive. It'll be a nice hotel. It'll be nice. But
It was nice.
but the food is what you're gonna really enjoy. God has allowed me to travel a lot. And food-wise, it's pretty hard to find anything fresher, healthier, better, or more decadent if you want decadence, it's there too. So you have a tremendous amount of food, tremendous amount of choice. So we land that day, we're gonna be pretty tired. It's a mixture because you're excited, but you're in Israel for crying out loud. So your mind and your body are really messed up because you're in Israel, and you're excited, and you're exhausted, and you don't care. It's just weird, but you're there. So we get there, and they take us to the hotel, and they give us a little run through it. Our tour guide will be there, and he'll introduce himself and make us laugh a little bit and make us comfortable. We'll realize, this is gonna be kind of fun, huh? What I like about our tours is everybody knows everybody for the most part. There'll be a few people you're not gonna know, get to know them. Get to know them as soon as you can, make them feel part of our group. The folks, almost all the folks that are going, I do know. They're either my family members, or family members of my family members, or they're friends of mine of over 40 years. So I mean, this the church and some really close friends and family for the most part. And I vouch for them big time. They're awesome folks. They love the Lord. They'll be a piece of cake. So just get to know them. So we're going to kind of get to know each other. They'll give us our keys up to the room you go, and then they say, come on down for dinner at this time. And be ready just to have fun that night. It's beautiful. Typically we have views of the Mediterranean Sea as we're eating. The sun will be setting in the Mediterranean Sea. You look out and say, that's the Mediterranean. Crying out loud. We have a great meal, great food, a lot of laughing, a lot of talking. You're exhausted, and yet at the same time, you're in Israel. It'll be like 8 o'clock at night, which puts it at 11 o'clock in the morning. Even though you're tired, it's going to be really hard to sleep. So typically what we do is, because we're crazy, we're in Israel, you go out walking. This is where if injury's going to happen, this is where it happens, the first 2 nights at night, where you don't know where you are. Our daughter Yvette, this is where she got hurt. It's where you have your accidents, because you're tired, but you're excited. So the adrenaline's trumping your tiredness, but you're worthless. But it's okay, go have fun. Just go be worthless on the beach. It's beautiful. It's safe. You can go out on the beach, you'll hear the sea. People are everywhere. It smells great. You're in Israel. Enjoy it. You'll go back home, you get some sleep. No matter how tired you are going to wake up between 4 and 5 in the morning. That's just what it is. You're going to be tired, but you're going to wake up. Breakfast starts at 6:30. Connie and I sit down and have breakfast for 4 hours down there that first day. We just have breakfast with all of you if possible. You guys are coming and going, and we just talk with you, and you guys are all excited, and you got all these questions that we've covered 5 times here, but you're excited. You just want to talk, so we just talk, and we just get excited. It is. You do this a lot, girl. That's what happens. That's what
You
happens.
walk into the lunchroom, or whatever, the breakfast room the first time, and you're just like,
Yeah.
and then there they are, and you run over to them, and
Excited. Everyone's excited.
It's just silly.
And it's huge. It's almost the size of like a basketball court, or bigger than a basketball court.
It's big. It's big.
It's big with tables of food everywhere, fresh vegetables everywhere, presentation is everything, ice carvings everywhere. It's fun. It's just fun. It's like, check this place out, man. This is awesome. And you just eat as much as you want. It's like being on a cruise. Have you been on a cruise? That's how this is. Eat as much as you want. Eat it. Have fun. Have fun. So this is our first day. It's Saturday, Shabbat, Sabbath. They observe Sabbath in Israel. So the stores are closed. So any Jewish stores are closed. Most of the Jews in Israel, not all, most of them are atheists. So they don't worship, they just have family day.
Wow.
So it's family day. So Shabbat is family day. So the beach is going to be packed, tons of people. It's amazingly awesome. And have a nice breakfast. We'll have swimming pools, plural, at the hotel, indoor and outdoor. But you don't go indoor, go outdoor. But then right across the street, and I believe this hotel is on the beach. I think we're across the street on the beach this time. I'm not certain. I think so. I'll check when we get
We were
closer.
really close last
We were across
time.
the street, yes.
Yeah, we were across the street, and you just had to walk down a little ways, and you were right there.
Yeah, it was like to Wells Fargo from here. But
Is it a different hotel?
yeah, we upgraded just a little bit. But it's nice. It's nice. I think we have a private beach this time. I think. I'm pretty sure, but don't hold me. I think we do. So it's nice. It's a nice place. But it's because we're all there all day. We're there all day. Go to the beach. Have fun. Go to the Mediterranean Sea. If you don't swim, go there. Come on, John. Go there anyway. Just hang out. Have fun. John does our kids ministry. That's her stash right now. So, John, before you go, I want you to come over here just for a second. Right here. I want you to look at Roman. Look at Roman. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Johanna.
What do you do here, Johanna?
I teach kids ministry.
What else do you do?
I sing on the worship team.
What else do you go to school?
Yes.
What are you studying?
Nursing.
Nursing? Sweet, that's Johanna.
Hi.
That's for the camera, actually. So
Oh.
And it's not candid camera.
That movie now.
Can you give it a
if she knew it was a camera, she would have just clammed right up. Johanna is, she's been here almost since the church started. Her mom and her younger sister and her, they've been here. I think the second week. So they've been here for 5 years, 11 months, and 3 weeks. But at any rate, so that day we're off. Go to the beach, have fun. You're going to see games. They have this thing it's called bocce ball, and it's a wooden paddle, like a big ping pong paddle kind of, without the padding, just wood. And they got these hard balls, and they just play it like tennis without the net. It's like a Super Bowl almost. You'll hear it up and down the beach, tuck, 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 tuck. And they hit it hard, and it's like that's going to hurt. And they play it around mass quantities of people.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're standing right here. I can be talking to Connie, and there's a guy right here playing it. It's right over my head. You shoot, whack. You shoot, whack. Let's go over here, babe. There's a couple more. Whack. Shoot, whack. And it's just like, it's just what it is. I've never seen anybody get hit. Never seen anybody get hurt. But I freak out every time. But they play it all the time. So have fun. If you want to get it, go play it. Figure it out. Don't hit anybody. You probably will, but have fun. But you'll see tons. Do you guys see those?
Oh, yeah,
All over the place.
everywhere.
Everyone's playing.
That's how you learn to say thank you, and, you know, I mean, or whatever, because you'll pick up the ball and give it to them, and they say thank you, and you start having conversations right off the
It's
bat.
so fun. But there'll be easily, how many people on the beach?
Oh, I can't,
Everyone?
you can't even hardly see the beach.
Thousands of
The
Israelis.
entire city is on the beach.
But what's fun, guys, realize these are Israelis.
Oh my gosh.
And I just love it when I'm there because I can't help but go back in my mind. I go back to Old Testament times, Jesus times. These are the Jews. I'm in the midst of the Jews. These are the people that God chose through Abraham, blessed this nation. And they're back in the land, and I'm standing in the midst of them. It's like, this is fantastic. They don't know Jesus. They don't want to know Jesus. They got this veil. But it's like, this is amazing to me. The other thing that's very interesting, and I always feel guilty when I go, is I don't know if I've ever seen an Israeli out of shape.
Oh, yeah.
They're all in shape. They all got these Adonis bodies, and they just walk around. They're not big, muscular bound. They're just, one after the next, they're just in shape. They're just in shape. They're just in shape. You think of James. James is in shape. They're all like that. They're just in shape.
Is that because of the military?
Maybe. Maybe.
Well,
But they're all in
that, and they
shape.
go to
walk.
the beach on their day off. I mean, they don't hang out and watch TV all day.
But it's fun. So you can enjoy just being around them. But it's a day off. You can go for a walk up to Joppa. Joppa is the place, remember, where Peter had his vision? And he saw that sail coming out of the sky. Some translations say it's sheet. And it was full of unclean animals. Remember, he says, rise, Peter, and eat. No, I don't eat this. Remember that whole thing? That took place in Joppa. When you're there, if you go to Joppa and you look up the Mediterranean, you're going to see a lot of boats, a lot of sails. And you're going to see, that word can mean sheet or sail. Maybe it should have been sail right there. But either way, it makes no difference. It's just interesting. But that's in Joppa. You can go there and you can pay, I think it's 8 shekels or 10 shekels, and you can go up into the very house that Peter had his vision of. I'm sure it is. But someone's making money, so that's cool. So don't go for that stuff. Don't do that. Don't give them money to go up in somebody's house and say, this was the house. No, they don't know what house it is. But anyway, there it is. But you can go to Joppa and see the distance of it. It's fun. It's a fun walk. It's about, from our hotel there, it was probably a 3-mile walk north maybe. So a 6-mile walk. But it's along the beach. It's nice. If you go south, you're going to go right into the tourist area of Tel Aviv. That's where I like to go. Great ice cream, great stores, great little snackages, wonderful tourist shops, and just people. If you want to go into Tel Aviv, you can go to Tel Aviv. It's fine. You can go to Tel Aviv. Just go to Tel Aviv. If you get lost, just go to the sea or on the beach. And check out Tel Aviv. It's a beautiful city. It's a beautiful city. So that's just a day off. If you want to hang around by the pool that first day and just rest, or on the beach and rest, go play in the water and just rest, not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. You have a big breakfast. We don't provide lunch that day. And you're going to have a fantastic supper that night. Because it's Shabbat. Everything's closed, remember. So when you come back, the sun is setting, Shabbat is over, and the food comes out. And now we get the good stuff. Because now they're cooking. And it's good. It's good food. Good food. So we'll have a great supper that night. After that supper, we meet in a room. We'll have a room reserved. And that's where we get ready for the next day. We'll have a communion service there. We have 2 communion services typically there. The first night, and the last night, or the last day. Well, the communion service, we have a little study that day. We'll all be in chairs. By now, you've got all stories already because you've been out in Tel Aviv on your own for the day. This is your day to have fun. We all got stories. Somebody said, I stayed by the pool. It was awesome. I ordered hummus from room service, and you're all sunburned. I don't think I even got any sun. And you look at it, okay then. But have fun, because we're all going to get some sun. We're going to get sun. Try as you might. So you're just having fun. So we share our stories. We have fun. Then we're going to talk about the first day. We're going to look at tomorrow. We're going to cover that. We're going to have a little bit of worship. We're going to have just a sweet time, have a communion service. Hit the bed pretty quick. We try to head you back to the room by 8:30 or 9 o'clock. That's not the night to go out and kick up your heels. Because the next morning's going to come, I promise you. That night you're going to sleep well, really well.
What's the first day?
That's at the end of the first day. Yeah. It'll be your second night in the hotel. And I forget the time, they'll tell us, but I think we have to be out ready for breakfast at 6, if I remember right, usually most every day. So we have breakfast at 6, so it's early mornings every day. Hit the bus by 7 or 7:30, whatever it is. If it's too early, skip breakfast, but we gotta go. When it's time to go, we go. If you miss the bus, we come back and get you the next day, so it's not a big thing. But no, we don't do it. But just be there. And then we take off, and off we go. And then we go to the first day, and off we go. But the first day is essential, I believe, for our tour group. It's something I never would have done. I've talked to so many pastors that do tour groups. Very few of them do this. It costs a little bit more, and it's worth every penny. I did not plan it. The owner of the tour company planned it for me. I said, you plan the trip. You know, I'm always planning the trips. What would you do? You've been doing this for 40 years. What would you do? And he's the one that said it. He said, you guys come over from Albuquerque or the West Coast, wherever you come from. You travel all day long. You get in. You're dog tired. We get up early in the morning, and you sleep through the first day. The bus starts rocking, and I'm talking and sleeping. So just take a day off. Rest. Feel good. So we do that. And it's been amazing. Injuries have dropped substantially. Yvette's injury was small. She slipped on a rock that night and scraped herself up, but no big thing. But we've had very few injuries. It's been pretty good. Pretty good. So we just get rest before we hit it, and it works well. Okay? So that's just kind of a quick thing. Passport is important. They're looking for the passports. I just talked with them again, so get your passports ordered. As you know, our New Mexico driver's license is being challenged a little bit. And if that's the case, the passport lines are going to get long. So get the passports. We need the passports. And, yeah, give me a copy of the passport. Thanks for getting your stuff in. It's looking pretty good. Pretty good. Any questions?
Are we off camera?
Are we, James, are you,
No.
can you hear me, James? James? Shut me off, okay? Bye, guys. We'll pick it up in a couple of weeks.